And the first big ripple really starts right here in the White House. With the new Trump administration getting settled, we're seeing a wave of executive actions that are basically trying to reset the nation's course. And what's one of the first big targets? A technology that's pretty much poised to define our future: artificial intelligence.
So the administration is making a really bold move here. They're pushing for a dramatic deregulation of AI. The goal, at least on paper, is to unleash American innovation. But the way they're doing it? Well, it's setting up a major clash between federal power and state power. And this quote from President Trump really gets to the heart of the framing here. The argument from the administration is basically this: if you let individual states, places like California or Colorado, make their own AI rules, you end up with this messy patchwork of laws that just stifles development. The fear they're expressing is that rules from just one state could end up setting a really restrictive, maybe ideologically driven standard for the entire country. Okay, so how is this policy actually being put into action? It's through something called Executive Order 14179, and its official title says it all: removing barriers to American leadership in artificial intelligence. The whole idea is to clear the path for the U.S. to dominate the field, making sure the tech is free from what the administration is calling ideological bias. And here's the nuts and bolts of how they're planning to do it. This thing isn't just a suggestion, right? It has real teeth. It's revoking previous safety rules, creating a whole new task force at the Department of Justice just to challenge state AI laws. And, get this, it's even threatening to restrict federal grants to states that don't fall in line. So let's be clear. This is a direct challenge to a state's right to regulate new technology. A really big deal. Okay, so this whole America First approach to tech and policy, it doesn't just happen in a bubble, right? It's sending a really clear signal around the world that the U.S. is prioritizing its own interests. And that's making some key allies, well, they're starting to reassess their own security plans. And you can see this happening nowhere more clearly than in Japan.
2%. That number might not sound like a lot, but for Japan, it is huge. See, for decades, Japan has had this strictly defensive military posture, keeping its defense spending capped at about 1% of its GDP. But now, in what is a truly historic shift, they've committed to doubling that, aiming for 2% by 2027. This is a profound change in strategy.
So where's all that money going? This chart breaks it down for us. And look at the top priorities. Standoff defense. We're talking long-range offensive missiles here. And integrated air and missile defense. This spending tells you everything. Japan is fundamentally shifting from just being a shield to actually having the capability to strike back.
So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. Japan is shifting towards a much more proactive, more assertive role in regional security. It's not just about self-defense anymore. It's about being able to actively deter potential threats, from countries like China and North Korea. And it's also about sharing more of that security burden with allies like the US. So, with all this going on, how is the financial world reacting? Well, back in the US, this pro-business, deregulatory agenda, especially when you apply it to a massive growth sector like AI, is just fueling a huge surge of optimism on Wall Street. I mean, just look at this trajectory. The Dow Jones has been on an absolute tear, just shattering records. After it blew past 45,000 late last year, the big talk in 2025 is all about the next giant milestone, Dow 50,000. That's a pretty ambitious target for sure, but it's one that a lot of people feel is actually within reach. And the big banks? They're definitely bullish. Bank of America is out there forecasting the Dow could actually hit that 50,000 mark this year. Now, okay, some of the other major banks are a little more conservative with their targets, but the overall feeling, it's overwhelmingly positive. They all seem to think this market still has room to run. So, what's really driving all this optimism? Well, it's a really powerful combination of things. First off, corporate profits have been surprisingly strong. And with inflation finally starting to cool off, pretty much everyone on the market is expecting the Federal Reserve to start cutting interest rates. You add the promise of less regulation into that mix, and, well, you've got the perfect recipe for a major market rally. But, and this is a big but, this whole story of soaring markets and bold new policies has a really dramatic counterpoint. Because while everyone is focused on AI and global strategy, a very different reality is unfolding on the ground. It's a stark reminder that there are forces out there that operate way beyond the control of Washington or Wall Street. And that brings us to the crucial question. Because while this long-term vision for the country is being hammered out, there are immediate, very real crises that are demanding attention right now. This is Chehalis, Washington. It's December 2025. What you're seeing is the result of something called an atmospheric river. Think of it as a giant river of moisture flowing in the sky. It has just slammed into the Pacific Northwest, dumping record amounts of rain and causing absolutely catastrophic flooding. This isn't some forecast. This is a full-blown statewide emergency. And the scale of this disaster is just immense. The governor has declared an emergency, the National Guard is being deployed, and major infrastructure like Interstate 5, that's the main highway on the West Coast, is under threat of being completely shut down. People are literally being rescued from their homes as rivers are swelling to record levels. And the economic cost? It's just staggering. To give you some perspective, the last time this region saw a flood anywhere near this bad was back in 2007. The estimated cost then was $930 million. This event, it could be even worse. It's just a brutal reminder of the incredible financial and human cost of extreme weather. And so, that's where we are. In 2025, you've got this nation racing to deregulate the future of AI. You have a global stage where allies are rearming for a totally new era. And you have a stock market that's basically betting on endless growth. But at the very same time, we're facing these immediate, devastating crises right here at home. So I guess the real question for 2025 is, what happens when these two parallel realities finally and inevitably collide?